This is a common problem that many pond owners face. The BioFalls is not performing as expected, or maybe it's just time for an upgrade. But in this instance, we are dealing with a leaky pond and a leaky waterfall, because one of the most common issues with BioFalls is the plastic eventually does warp and they end up clogging or overflowing out the sides or the back of it, which in this case you can see the front lip is warped pretty badly due to age. It's been here a long time and now it's just time for an upgrade. We're going to replace this BioFalls with a custom section that not only improves water flow, but adds a fresh, natural aesthetic to this pond, along with some new boulders that are going to be giving this a brand new look. Now, not only is there going to be new filters and brand new hardware in this is going to be adding on to the water flow. Because that lip is no longer bent, we have a brand new straight lip that's going to give a nice sheet waterfall out of the front there, so it's going to be a lot more flow coming out, and which will eventually turn into more filtration, allowing this pond to stay clear and keeping these fish happy and healthy. So the first step is removing the old BioFalls. Now this can be a little tricky. Sometimes you're going to run into some roots, some plant issues, or anything that you might not see that's under the ground there that could be an issue. But now we've got most of the rocks and gravel out of here in front of the BioFalls. You can see just how bad that lip is warped. Over time, this must have just conformed to the rock that was in front of it, which was impeding that water flow and allowing water to escape from different sides and not evenly over the front of it. Now what we're doing is inspecting our liner visually, and we're going to be removing this big guy as well, because we have to get this old liner out of here. We're going to be replacing it with a new bib liner that's going to be going into the pond. So that's going to involve removing some of the cobbles that are down here, just so we can get the front of that lip down in there and have a proper bib liner in front of here. But what we've seen so far is the liner doesn't really come up that high. It's at the height of these smaller cobbles, somewhere behind this big rock. So I think the water was making its way around on this right side here, behind this rock and into the soil. We're gonna see if we can find anything obvious or if we can see any sort of water. So once we remove our BioFalls, we're gonna go ahead, excavate the area underneath it and level out around it so we can prepare for our new BioFalls. It is essential to make sure that our foundation is solid. So making sure that we have a proper base underneath our BioFalls is going to be what is the difference between a properly functioning BioFalls versus a non-functioning like this one. Now, what I mean by that is we're gonna have to tamp and compact underneath this BioFalls. Even though this one has already been sitting here, you can see just over time this one moved down and settled, and that's what caused this lip to deform in the first place. So we're gonna go ahead, even if it is already compacted, I just wanna make sure. So we're gonna go ahead and compact it again. Once we remove this extra soil and loosen it up a little bit, we're gonna give that stuff a nice tamp down and make sure it's solid. Once we removed our old liner that was attached to the front of this BioFalls, we did find that the liner that was foamed to the side of this rock here, retaining that right side of the waterfall, was actually folded in a weird little angle, and it was allowing the water to pass through and go around it into the soil, which was wicking all that water into it and absorbing it, which was causing that leak. And it made it super hard to detect where exactly it was coming out of, but without physically removing all these rocks and that liner, they never would have found it. But thankfully we did, and we saw all that water was just sitting underneath here. This liner was covered in water as well, so it was very obvious that was where the water was coming out and disappearing into. So not only is our new BioFalls bigger, it is also going to be filtering so much more than what is already here. You can see just by size comparison, this one is a lot smaller than this guy. This is a 2500 BioFalls. This is, if you're going to compare it in numbers, probably 1500 if I had to guess, but that's what we're working with. You can see that lip up close. It just does not look good. It is definitely time for an upgrade, which is why we're here. But we've got our brand new one, all brand new holes for the screws, and a nice flat surface for where our lip is going to be going. And you can see how it aged. The silicone or whatever they might have used to seal this is not only no longer attached, it's just starting to completely disintegrate and fall apart. You can just peel this apart There is no way that they were going to be getting a good seal anymore with this guy. So it is definitely time for our new, brand new unit. Now the new one that we have with us is bigger by quite a margin. It's not only taller, it is also wider. So Boley's going to have to start digging, which he's already done. We're going to be digging a deeper hole along with some more width just to give us that room so we can fit this brand new one in there. We're also going to be excavating out a section to the right where our pipe is going to be going, since we're installing a brand new 2-inch main line that's going to be going against the side of the pond here, around the edge, and back towards our skimmer, which is going to attach to the existing pump. And we're going to be updating the mainline fittings that bring it into the pump, because the old one did not have a check valve, which allowed all the water inside the BioFalls to just rush back into the skimmer when it got turned off, and all that sludge and dirty water that gets trapped up in there underneath the filters while it's running during the season eventually will make its way down into the skimmer, back into the pond, because of not having that check valve. But since we do have a check valve on this, we're going to put that in, and anytime that they feel like shutting it off or not running it, all that water is going to be retained inside the BioFalls, and nothing's going to get mucked up or dirty because of it. You can see Boley is just getting our first rock set with that nice 2-foot level. He wants to make sure that this waterfall stone is nice and flat across the top of it, which is going to allow that water to sheet off the front of it and go off as smoothly as possible. Behind this is our liner, which we have dropped in for now. We have not yet hooked it up to our BioFalls because we want to still be able to manipulate the liner to where we need it. You can see back here, I've already started digging our trench. That is where our fittings are on the back of our BioFalls. I'm going to trench from there all the way around, and I started on this side too, but we got to make our way all the way around the side of the pond back into our skimmer, which is where we're going to be doing a custom installation using this guy of our new check valve, which is going to be on this pump. But first, I've got to take our 2-inch hole saw and make a nice hole there, and then follow the trench at that depth all the way around to make sure we get proper flow, and that water is going to feed itself back through gravity once this turns off. Now you can see after that first spillway stone that Boley set, he's already got 2 framers in here. This one was already here on this right side, so that worked out for this. We had to switch out the left side for a new one in order to make that work. Because where our BioFalls is sitting, it has to be turned a little bit, and it's a little closer than the original one that was here because this one is a bit bigger. That's okay, but the only downside to that is now we are worried about splash. Because this rock sticks out pretty far into the back, we're gonna have to find a rock that goes right across that right side there and redirects the water to the left and have it splash into a little pool of some gravel. That way it won't make a lot of splash, which allows water to kind of evaporate or go out of the liner. To mitigate that, we're gonna be forcing that water along that left side into a little pool, which is gonna just spill over back into our pond. And now this really is not that bad because we have a couple more rocks that need to be placed, and then we can start worrying about edging and putting those little bit of cobbles around the backside and building the wall back there. But in the meantime, Boley is going ahead, poking holes where all those screws belong. That way, when he's ready to get the lip in there, I can help him. We can cut that piece nice and square, and then we can stick the lip on there with our silicone and get a nice watertight seal behind that liner, so that way it's not leaking or going around any edges. While he's doing that, I'm gonna start digging the rest of this trench, and now that we have actually gone deeper, because of this BioFalls being bigger, we have to make our trench deeper to allow that water to gravity feed back down the hill here into our skimmer where our pump sits. as you guys can see, attention to detail here is super crucial when it comes to installing this. Now, it might look like there's a ton of this gray stuff, which is our foam, but you let this set for a minute and Bully's gonna go back and tap everything down. You won't even notice it, because when you're installing foam, it kind of tends to puff up a little bit. If you've ever worked with like house insulation foam, it's sort of the same premise. You spray it, it kind of expands a lot, and then eventually you can just tap it and it pushes all that air inside of it out and it flattens, which is exactly what we're gonna do here, and I'll show you guys in a minute. But the way that this waterfall works is all that water is going to pool up inside our BioFalls, converge out into the middle here, hug these two rocks on the face, including this middle one. Now this little one right here is super important. It's going to hit that water flow, disrupt it, and cause some swirling, some crashing, and slowing down that water pace, because we don't want it to just shoot out and make a big mess everywhere. So that's why that one is there. These other little ones are kind of just decorative, even just to disrupt that water flow a little more. And then eventually it makes its way off the face of this nice big flat rock here back into our pond. While he was doing that, I was over here working on closing up that right side where our plumbing is going. Now I did most of it, except I got to here, and now we have to continue backfilling our pipe over here while making sure we're maintaining the proper level in order to get that gravity feed going, which so far is looking great. We just have to add a little piece here because this is going to be a custom install for the fittings inside of here. Due to us not having a check valve originally, I have two options. I have a normal white PVC check valve that you can usually get at Home Depot or some sort of store like that. And I also have our normal dual union check valve from Aquascape. The only problem is that is too tall for this skimmer. Now I'm gonna have to get real creative with that one and figure out how I'm gonna fit that in there, because it's really, really tight inside of here, including with that lid on top of it. So might have to do some trimming, not sure, but let's see what happens. Once the new section is installed, it's now time to test the water flow. Now if you notice, the water is flowing smoothly, but it's also doing exactly what we thought it was going to do, where it's hitting that rock, spiraling around, and it's just kind of crashing right in front of the face of that waterfall, and then it's just slowly going into that little cobble area and over our sheet waterfall there. This is exactly what we thought was going to happen, and our customers absolutely love it. And now not only is this enhancing the look, it's also improving the function of this pond, because it's going to provide the proper amount of flow going into here. Now this may look cloudy right now, but in the next couple days it'll clear right up with that brand new set of filtration. This is actually oversized, so there's a lot of extra filtering happening, including inside this skimmer with those filters as well. So the key to any successful upgrade is making sure that whatever you're going to be creating inside your landscape is going to blend with its surrounding environment. And you always have to be thinking about how that water flow is going to be working with your brand new design, and how the overall health of your ecosystem is going to function along with it. So now they can just leave their fish in there and not have to worry about it, and it'll be running for them all year round without a problem. And there you have it, a complete upgrade from a basic BioFalls to a stunning custom built waterfall. And now if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more water feature transformations, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment with your questions, and give us a like. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you're thinking about upgrading your own pond, reach out to us on our website or give our retail store a call for custom design solutions.